TechNet Saturday at 7 p.m. W5SC. This is the W5SC repeater, PL110.9.
This is N5BB. We'll be starting Skynet in about 3 minutes on this repeater. If you need to use the repeater before then, go right ahead. This is N5BB.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater? Before we begin, Skynet, this is N5BB. This is November 5, Bravo, Bravo. My name is Bill, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC. That's the Dallas Amateur Radio Club, Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy and space. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. You do not need to be a member of any club to participate. Stations with priority emergency traffic can enter the net at any time with a pro sign, break, and your call sign. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control in 5BB. And stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates at 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID, which is Echolink node 37247. and I am logged in and watching Echolink. So if Echolink stations need to make a comment to me, they can do it in text. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and structured into several parts. General announcements: Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events. The discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, the constellation of the week, space launches for the week, recent astronomical discoveries, and visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, if we have time. It's followed by astronomical questions and answers, and the 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now let's start. Do we have any short-time check-ins? Any stations that can't stay very long? Please come now with your call sign, name, and your location. This is Skynet in 5BB net control.
This is November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Alan.
Okay, we only have one short-time check-in. The N5WOI. Hello, William. Next, let's go to General RF check-in. We'll get to Echolink later. So if anybody wants to check in on RF, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB and Skynet. Go ahead.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India WD4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
This is KG5QXI, Glenn in Rockwell. Whiskey 5. Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz Mesquite. November 5, Sierra Quebec Alpha, Ron, beautiful downtown Dallas. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Except we got some nice parks.
Okay, please stop there. There was a double. Who was the station that was talking about parks? You were covered up. Go ahead.
That would be Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom in Louisville. Not so picturesque, but we have nice parks. I've got 3 watts of power tonight.
Yeah, Bill just smashed you. Okay, I recognize WB4MFI. Hello, Ted. W5GUS. Hi, Gus. KG5QXI. Good evening, Glenn, over in Rockwall. KF5JHA. Our buddy Chaz. N5SQA. Ron. And KF5ZBL Bill, along with KE5ICX Tom. Do we have any other RF check-ins for Skynet? Please come now. This is Inside BB.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Kilo Uniform. David, Mesquite.
This is
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay, also in Mesquite.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Echo India Uniform. David, St. Paul, Texas.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo 2, Whiskey. Stay near, West.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Alpha Delta 5, Sierra Echo, Chuck, Richardson. This is
5 Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich and Rockwall, AG5 PM.
This is Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Okay, let's pause there. There were several doubles, so listen carefully. I may have missed you. I would like to recognize David, KG5UKU, Clay, N5OF, David, KG5EIU, Jay, KG5BZW, James, KG5WVL, Chuck, AG5SE, Kelly, K5KTX, Rich, AG5PM, Robert, AA5AH. Is there anyone who tried to check in, but whose call sign I have not given so far? If so, please come now in 5BB.
I'm sorry, Bill. This is AG5 PM. I stepped away for a moment. I did not hear if you called my call sign. You may have. AG5 PM.
Well, we got you earlier, Rich. AG5 PM. I recognize you. Okay, do we have any other RF check-ins for Skynet? Please come now. This is Inside BB.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay. I recognize KB9SOK. Sean in Fort Worth. Do we have any other RF check-ins for Skynet? If so, please come now.
WB5OZL, Brendan DeSoto. I doubled with somebody. Did you get me?
No, I did not. There were several doubles. That's why I was looking, Brenda. Okay, WB5OZL. Do we have any other stations checking in on RF? because there were so many doubles, let me go down the list really quick. So I'm just going to get the call signs super fast. Here's the stations I've recognized. N5WOI, WB4MFI, W5GUS, KG5QXI, KF5JHA, N5SQA, KF5ZBL, KE5ICX, KG5UKU, N5OF, KG5EIU, KG5BZW, KG5WZL, AG5SE, K5KTX, AG5PM, AA5AH, KB9SOK, WB5OZL. Are there any RF check-ins that I missed? If so, please come now. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Correction to a call.
Go ahead.
Correct Alpha Golf 5 Sierra Echo to Alpha Delta 5 Sierra Echo.
I apologize, Chuck. Wrote it down wrong. Chuck, I recognize AD5SE. Okay, do we have any other RF check-ins before we go to Echolink? Okay, are any stations on Echolink that I've not yet checked in that want to check in on voice? If so, we'll wait for you. So if there's any Echolink stations on there that want to check in on voice, please come now. This is N5BB, Skynet.
So Fox 5, Tango Hotel Bravo via Echolink from the shores of Lake Arrowhead, Texas. And that, thanks very much. This is Whiskey Zero, Mike Bravo Charlie, Shane.
Very good. I recognize Brent, KF5THB, up in Oklahoma, I believe, and W0MBC. MBC. Bethany and Shane. Hello. Good to hear you both on. Okay. There's an awful lot of text, but I don't think anything was directed at me. So let me see who else is over there. K5JDW, John and Norman. You want to come in on voice? Well, we hear you, John, but your audio is very low. Okay, I recognize N5IMS. JJ in Carrollton is there, but can't do audio. No problem. He's listen only mode. I'm also recognize KI5GRH, Melissa. WD5 DPX. That's Bobby. Bobby, where are you located? Well, I guess Bobby either isn't listening or doesn't have a keyboard. Let me see. Who else? The other station is KG5QXI. That is Glenn in Rockwall. I don't think I had him before. Yes, I did. Okay, Glenn. Already checked you in on RF. But I see you on Echolink. Okay. Do we, one last station. KI5LSM. Alec. Alec, do you have a microphone? Can you tell us where you're located?
Yes, this is KI5LSM. I'm in downtown Dallas, actually.
Very good, Alec. Welcome to our little net. We've got quite a few stations tonight. Okay, does anybody need to check in via any mode? Any other last-minute check-ins? This is Inside BB and Skynet. Go ahead.
Relay.
Go ahead, relay.
Well, Bill, there seems to be some activity over on YouTube, so I'm going to go ahead and give you what I got. Some of them are ham, some of them are not. All but one is from Brookhaven. So, let me give you the ham. I've got Bobby, Whiskey Delta 5 Bravo Papa X-Ray in Willis Point. He can't get in to the repeater, and he may not know about Echolink, but he does know about the YouTube, so he's there. I'll give you the first names of students of the Pun Master. I've got Jocelyn, Jocelyn, Adam Marys, Adamarys, April, Apryl, Ingrid, Ingrid, and Stephanie. They're all there, and, well, just thought I'd mention it. You can put them on the list, I don't know, on the side, on top, but they're listening and they're watching. KE5I6.
Okay, I've written them down. I can't speak directly to them because that would be broadcasting and not legal. But that's fine. You're saying they're listening. Okay, very good. Now, any last-minute check-ins before we continue? This is Inside BB, Skynet. Nothing heard. Okay, do we have any general announcements? These can be amateur radio, astronomical, space, or anything of general interest to licensed hams. If so, please come now with your call sign only. Well, that is slow. I'll just give a general comment here. The Dallas Amateur Radio Club runs many other nets besides this one. So after this net, at 10:30, we have Afterglow. And tonight, the Afterglow movie is Fire Maidens of Outer Space. Tom, you want to go ahead and tell us your description of that fine feature film?
Well, thank you, Bill. I realized, my computer blew up, the one that I use normally to put the stuff out, and it was dead on Sunday, so I was distracted by it. So I didn't have a funny, witty, really accurate thing, but I did do this. I went ahead and cobbled together something yesterday. Yes, I know, I'm late. It's only the second time, but here we go. A team of astronauts land on the moon of Jupiter to find it populated with beautiful young women looking for mates. An old man explains to the explorer the group's story, as well as the moon's dangers. That wasn't my comments, that's there. actual reviews for the Fire Maidens of Outer Space from 1956. I said 55, but it took them a year to actually try and put this thing out without getting arrested. The monthly film bulletin stated, even the most dedicated connoisseurs of Artless are likely to find this British attempt at science fiction something of a strain on their patience. The DVD Talk website stated, Fire Maidens of Outer Space, it says from outer space, but it's actually of outer space, may be among the worst ever professionally produced science fiction films. And then I have to say, it's proof even British people can make questionable movies for the Empire. Join us for Fire Maidens of Outer Space from 1955 or 56, tonight at 10:30 or 10:35 p.m. This is KE5ICX, back to net control and all the ships at sea.
Yes, if you like dancing by young ladies in short skirts, there's lots of it in this movie. Okay, thank you, Tom. I kind of got things out of order, but I was talking about the other nets that are going on. So, we have a Afterglow again at 10:30 this evening. And believe it or not, we usually go to about midnight. I don't know how we can talk about movies like this one for 90 minutes because unless you're laughing about every single stupid thing they do in the movie. But we do. Anyway, on Sundays, we have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club net on the air, and those nets are on the first and the third Sundays of every month at 7 p.m. And then at 8 p.m. on the first and third Sundays, the Dallas Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service runs a training net on this repeater. That's Sunday. Then on Monday we have ham fixing nets on the first Monday of the month. AMCOM, Emergency Communications Net, second week. The third Monday we have ham fixing net. That's about, cooking or eating. The fourth week we have Geek Net. This is the fourth Monday of every month. And the Geek Net is geeky stuff. Geeky, technical stuff. If there is a fifth Monday of the month, we have the Surprise Net. If we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. We don't even know sometimes till the last moment. So Surprise Net could be anything. It could be name this movie. It could be riddles. You name it. Okay. That's Monday. Then Tuesday on this repeater, there's the AMSAT East Net at 8 p.m. talking about everything about amateur satellites. On Fridays of every week, we have the CERT Simulation CERT City. This is about emergency preparedness, and it's at 7:30 p.m. every Friday. Then on Saturdays, we have TechNet at 7 p.m., this net, Skynet, at 9 p.m., and again Afterglow at 10:30. Every night of the week, we have the early DFW traffic net on this repeater at 8:30 p.m. So as you can see, there is a lot of activity on this repeater. In addition to all of this, at noon on Monday through Friday, we have a local net where we talk about just local stuff, what's going on. So, a lot of stuff going on in this repeater. Be sure to listen. Okay. Do we have any other general announcements before I move ahead? Or any late check-ins? This is N5BB Skynet.
N5SQA recheck.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ron. Go ahead.
You mentioned in your list of nets the traffic net, which happens every night, but you said it was at 8:30 when in fact it's at 6:30. N5SQA.
If I said that, I was looking at something distracting me. Yes, the traffic net, the early session is at 6:30 p.m., 7 nights a week. Every night, 6:30. Okay, so do we have any questions about the nets or any other news or late check-ins before we move ahead? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay, we've talked about the afterglow net. Now, time for Chaz. Wake up, Chaz. I know you're watching the football game. I don't know why you'd want to, but I know you're watching it. But tear yourself away and talk to us about Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Go ahead, Chaz. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Well, since the score is 42-21, the Ohio State University is ahead. Yeah, I can tear myself away for just a few minutes. All right, let me see. I'm supposed to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Their next club meeting is going to be on Friday, November the 20th. It's usually on the fourth Friday, but in November we do it on third Friday because that's before Thanksgiving rather than after Thanksgiving. It'll be 7:30 p.m. It'll be a virtual one. Guest speaker will be Dr. Richard Olenek and Arthur Sweeney from the University of Dallas. I've known these two gentlemen for a couple of decades. They've been involved with all sorts of different things. The TAS club members will receive an email link to the meeting about a week in advance of the meeting. I have no idea when TAS will resume having face-to-face meetings, nor do I understand when we might have public observing stations again, but hopefully sometime soon. To check out more details, go to their website, texasastro.org, and you'll find more information there. Back to you, Bill, KF5JHA.
Okay, Chaz, does anybody have any questions about the Texas Astronomical Society? If so, please come down. Okay, moving forward. Next, National Space Society. I happen to be the membership director of the local National Space Society chapter for North Texas. We normally meet on the second Sunday afternoon of every month, but of course right now during COVID we're not meeting at a physical location. So we do it via WebEx. And so our next meeting is tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. And our speaker will be Daniel Delago, who is a flight software engineer at SpaceX. He actually went to University of Texas at Arlington. And then he was an intern at NASA, and now he's at SpaceX in California. So as you can imagine, we have a whole pile, several dozen actually, UT Arlington students already signed up to watch this. But if you'd like to hear him talk about getting a job at SpaceX, you too can be a visitor. If you'd like to visit and listen to this WebEx, it's free. You can do so by sending me an email at space@byram.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. Or you can reach me at N5BB@ARRL.net. Tell me you'd like to be a visitor to our WebEx tomorrow at 4 p.m., and we'll be glad to add you. Daniel Delago from SpaceX, a flight software engineer. Our meeting in December, on December the 13th, is going to be forget her last name. Her dad, Amy Ross. Her dad is Jerry Ross, the astronaut, and Amy is a engineer at NASA NASA JSC, Johnson Spacecraft Center in Houston, and she is one of the key spacesuit designers. She was supposed to talk last month, but there was a schedule problem for her, and so she's going to be talking in December. And she was involved with some spacesuit experimental materials that are on the Perseverance rover going to Mars right now. And once that spacecraft has been on Mars for a while, they will use the Sherlock experiment to test these different samples to see how they're holding up in the Martian atmosphere with any micrometeorites and ultraviolet light, cosmic rays, you name it. So she'll be talking about that in December, on December the 13th. And that's all the local things happening with National Space Society, because we can't go over to museums and schools now. They won't they won't let us in, and we don't want to go. So we're going to wait until the COVID stuff is over. Okay, moving ahead. Do we have any late check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet.
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Kilo 5, Alpha November Papa.
Kilo X-ray 7, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Sean, mobile from Richardson.
There was some doubling there. So I got K5GLD, Randy. I got KX7WTF. Was the other station ANP? Please try again.
Kilo 5, Alpha November Papa, Allen in Dallas.
We got you, Alan, K5ANP. Do we have any other check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB. Okay, now we have the net controls discussion topic of the evening. So since I'm net control, I get to do it. It's an update on OSIRIS-Rex. So OSIRIS-Rex is a spacecraft currently in orbit, actually, around the asteroid Bennu. That's spelled D-E-N-N-U. Bennu is what's called a near-Earth asteroid. This does not mean it's orbiting the Earth. Instead, it means it's on an orbit which occasionally brings the asteroid near the Earth. In fact, it brings it so close that there's a very small probability, less than 1%, that over the next several hundred years, Bennu will strike the Earth. If it did, it's got the power of, I'm trying to remember, 500 megatons or some other huge amount. I don't have that number handy. But the chance is very small. But it so happens that because it is in a near-Earth orbit, it's comparatively easy for us to reach it with a space probe. And so we've done that. And so the OSIRIS-Rex is the name of our probe. OSIRIS-Rex was launched on, looking at the wrong page here. It was launched in September of 2016, and it has been near Bennu for over a year, or around a year maybe. It was built by Lockheed Martin. They build these things in the suburb of Denver. And it has a planned mission duration of 7 years for its primary mission. So right now it is in orbit around Bennu, the asteroid. And the reason they went to Bennu is that this asteroid Bennu is kind of like a time capsule from the birth of the solar system. It has a very dark surface. It's classified as a B-type asteroid, which is the subtype of the carbonaceous C-type asteroids. Such asteroids are considered primitive, having undergone little geological change from the time of their formation. In particular, Bennu was selected because of the availability of pristine carbonaceous material, a key element in organic molecules necessary for life, as well as representative of matter from before the formation of Earth. Organic molecules, such as amino acids, have previously been found in meteorite and comet samples, indicating that some ingredients necessary for life can be naturally synthesized in outer space. That was a quote from Wikipedia. So, OSIRIS-Rex is a very ambitious sample return mission. So it's about as big as a minibus. I think maybe a bus that can handle maybe 7 people or something, like a shuttle bus for an airport or something, hotel shuttle bus, something like that. And OSIRIS-Rex has a arm that comes out that's kind of like a pogo stick with a joint in the middle. And last month, a few weeks ago in October, NASA sent OSIRIS-Rex down to the surface of Bennu, and everything worked perfectly. The arm had a collection box at the end. It pushed into the surface, and then they released some high-pressure nitrogen, which shoved a lot of material up into the collection box. And then it kind of bounced back off with this articulated arm and went back up, and they got it away from the surface. This was a very difficult thing to do, since nearby there was a large boulder or rock that was several stories tall. It was very large. But that was the best location they could find. They discovered that Bennu is covered with all kinds of debris, rocks of different size, from very small ones to things that are, like I say, larger than a house. This is N5BB, the control of Skynet. So, again, this is a very ambitious mission, and they thought Bennu was going to be much easier. They thought it was going to be covered maybe with some fine, smaller dust or very small pebbles, but they didn't expect to find all these big rocks of different sizes. And what they believe is that Bennu was created perhaps in the astronaut belt quite a while. Well, I can't remember exactly how far back, but it was created. Let's see if I can find that. I've forgotten. But anyway, it was because of 2 objects colliding, releasing a lot of very small rocks. And these rocks eventually coalesced into Bennu. So Bennu is a big rubble pile. Okay? Its mean radius is 245 meters. So that means its average diameter is about a little less than 500 meters. You know, something like 1,500 feet. The gravity is about 6 micro-G, 6 millionths of Earth's gravity. However, that's sufficient for OSIRIS-Rex to orbit around Bennu, which is really amazing. And Bennu rotates about every 4.3 Earth hours. Again, it's going around the sun, in orbit around the sun, in an orbit which brings it occasionally near the Earth. It is going to be let's see. So they believe that there is a probability of about 0.037% that it will impact Earth between the years 2175 and 2196. So some of the uncertainties involve the nature of the surface, the reflectivity of it, and what the surface is made out of, which we know much more about now. The reason for this is the Yarkovsky effect, Yarkovsky. This is an effect that was first postulated about 125 years ago. And if an object is heated up from sunlight or anything else, if an object in space like an astronaut is heated, and the main source of that heat would be the sun, and it is rotating, the radiation from the object is not symmetrical with regards to the sun. It's moved off-center because of the rotation. So you can think of the sun heating it up, but then as it rotates, that heat is off to one side. So from the vantage point of looking at it from the sun, one side as it rotates is warmer than the other because of the rotation. This gets very complex because it depends on the speed of the rotation, the angle of the object, the rotation angle, and lots of different things. But what this causes is, depending on whether the object is rotating in a prograde or retrograde manner, it causes the asteroid to either have a small acceleration toward the sun or away from the sun, depending on which way it's spinning. And there's some other related effects, but they're all kind of bundled together called the Yarkovsky effect. And so these effects make very little difference over the period of a few weeks or months. But when it comes to hundreds or thousands of years, there's huge effects. It's a very, very, very tiny acceleration of just, thousandths of a G or less, very, very small. But that acceleration eventually can push an object, 1 million miles to change the orbit by that much. So that's the reason we're very interested in understanding objects such as Bennu. This is N5BB and Skynet. So, what happened in October? Bennu went and pushed this arm into the surface. It went pretty deep. They shot in this nitrogen gas, which shoved a lot of material up in this little collection box. And there's like a mylar flap that was supposed to keep all the material in there. So imagine a little flap on the front of this box, and the material was supposed to get shoved in there by this nitrogen pushing it in there. All different sizes of little small rocks, probably things from dust size up to large pebbles. But there were some larger rocks they didn't anticipate. And what happened was, when they pulled away, is that some of these larger rocks caused the flap, the mylar flap, not to close completely. So Bennu was dribbling away a small amount of material. I mean, the OSIRIS-Rex, the spacecraft, was dribbling away a little bit of material. The original plan was they were going to move this arm. The spacecraft was going to be rotating, spinning slowly, and they were going to move this arm out. And that should change the moment of inertia. And so they would be able to measure the rotation speed very accurately and determine the exact mass of the collection. However, because the material was slowly dribbling out the mylar flap, they decided they didn't want to risk it. So they moved pretty quickly and put the collection box into a capsule, which is going to be coming back to the Earth. And they were successful in that. In fact, there's photographs they've taken showing them putting this capsule into the collection box. And all that seems to be perfect. But they don't know exactly how much. They think it may be as much as like a kilogram, which is like 2.2 pounds. So it could be quite a bit of material. But they know it's far more than their original goal, which is just a few dozen grams. So they think it's a very, very successful mission so far. The spacecraft here in a few months will be leaving Bennu. It's been taking lots and lots and lots of photographs, and there's a lot of data they've gotten. And they're also measuring the orbit of the OSIRIS-Rex around Bennu, which gives them a lot of information also. Anyway, and then OSIRIS-Rex is going to be coming back to the Earth. And when it comes back to the Earth, they plan for it to be returning, if I can find the date here, is it 2023? Oh, I will find it in just a moment. Yes, September of 2023, so about 3 years from now. And they plan the spacecraft will be flying past the Earth. It will not land. Instead, it'll release this return capsule. The return capsule will come down through the atmosphere and land at the Utah test range, where I've been before. This is kind of southwest of Salt Lake City, in the middle of this huge basin between some mountains, and it's barren. There is nothing there. There's no cell phone coverage. There's no power lines. There's this huge big area with nothing there. So that's where it'll be landing. And it looks like they're going to have plenty of material. So that's what's going on with that mission. This is N5BB and Skynet. Now, I'll try to make it through the rest of this very quickly. There's been a lot of research, even before they get the material back, on the surface characteristics because of all the photographs they've taken in various wavelengths from OSIRIS-Rex. And the surface of the asteroid is kind of a dark blue color. It's kind of weird. It's a blue color, and there's some real dark blue rocks on it. And there's some other rock areas which are reddish. And so they've been trying to come up with a lot of models on which changing the color of those rocks. And they believe a lot of it is ultraviolet light from the sun is changing these progression. Also, Bennu is under continual attack, you might say, from micrometeorites. And these micrometeorites hitting Bennu kick up material from the surface. And OSIRIS-Rex has been able to witness this. So there's material from this asteroid, which is just like a big jumble of little rocklets and dust, you might say. And some of these little pebbles on the surface are kicked up from incoming micrometeorites coming in at very high velocity. So there's a lot of interesting things they can discover just by sitting out there. The surface is also bombarded by the solar wind from the sun. So there's a lot of things impacting this, and these rocks have been under bombardment by these micrometeorites and the solar wind for a very long time. And so there's a lot of research into that. And as I said earlier, it's carbonaceous. There's a lot of carbon in it. So there's a lot of interest in the chemistry. So they're doing all this now, but here in 3 years when they get the rocks back, they'll be able to study all these things in detail on the Earth. Okay, I've talked far too long. End of that section. This is N5BB and Skynet. Do we have any late check-ins before we move on to the next session?
W5GUS, recheck.
Yes, Gus. Got any questions?
Yes, Bill. Thanks. W5GUS here. You might have mentioned it, but what is the, when I left the room for a moment, what is the approximate size of venue? W5GUS.
Okay. Bennu is roughly spherical. Not perfectly, but it's kind of a roughly spherical object, kind of grossly spherical, and it has a diameter, average diameter, of roughly 500 meters. So something like 1,500 feet, or 1,700 feet is the diameter. So that would make it, what, about a third of a mile diameter, roughly, something like that. So it's not tiny. That's why if it hits the Earth, it releases an incredible amount of energy. It would be a really nasty impact. If this came down in Dallas, it would just blast out the center of Dallas. As far as the damage, it'd be like all the nuclear weapons we have going off over Dallas at once or something. Does that help, Gus, N5BB?
Yes, indeed. That's exactly what I was wanting to know, how large it is. That would make quite a crater. Thanks, Bill. Back to net, W5GUS.
And by the way, before Chaz corrects me or anything, the effect on the Earth is not just the size and mass of the object. It's very dependent upon the relative velocity. So if the thing is coming in at a rather slow velocity, it won't impact, the energy won't be near as high. Why is that? Because if you remember back to your physics, they tried to teach you this probably in high school if you took physics, but definitely college physics. Kinetic energy is proportional to the mass times the square of the velocity. So if you increase the velocity a factor of 10, the kinetic energy is increased by a factor of 100. This is why the tiny, tiny micrometeorites and the space junk has such an effect when it hits the International Space Station. Something the size of a grain of sand moving at 25,000 miles per hour hitting the ISS is a big wallop. It's like you running into a brick wall with your car or something. It's nasty. Okay, so any more check-ins or comments before we move ahead? This is N5BB, Skynet. by the way, that means these micrometeorites hitting this asteroid where there's no atmosphere, of course. If they're going at a high enough velocity, they can kick up quite a bit. You know, they can knock loose. They don't have to supply very much escape velocity, because the escape velocity from the asteroid is very low. They just have to give enough kinetic energy to kind of slowly move the object out, and it will kind of drift away. So if Bennu is being attacked by these high-velocity, tiny little micrometeorites, and things are being kind of knocked slowly coming off of that rubble. So you wonder where all these little meteorites are that come into the Earth's atmosphere? Well, they probably get kicked off of things like Bennu and eventually get to the Earth. Okay, so speaking of astrophysics, it's time to go to Chaz for What's Up? What's up? Go ahead, Chaz. This is N5BB with Skynet.
Why, thank you, Bill, and thank you for using an equation. Kinetic energy, 1/2 mv squared. Very good. That's great. Oh, by the way, the Rutgers and Ohio State game is 49-27. Of course, the Ohio State University is in the lead. Yes, I am Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics, and I'm the astrophysics lab manager at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. We call this segment of Skynet Was Up. Slide number 2, the moon was a full moon last week, 7 days ago, on October 31st. That was Halloween, and it was also a blue moon. That would mean it was the second full moon of the month. So the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. Tomorrow, on November the 8th, the moon will be at its third quarter, and on November the 14th, the phase of the moon will be new. Slide number 3, on November 13th, the early morning eastern sky, you can find Venus, Mercury, the moon, and Spica in conjunction. That'll be a pretty sight to see. That's just not too many days from now. From top to bottom, Venus is the brightest, and Spica, and below Spica is the moon, and the lowest in the sky will be Mercury. By the way, I've got, visuals of this on our YouTube version of Skynet. Slide number 4. On November the 18th and November the 19th, the moon will be in conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter. Remember that Jupiter and Saturn are getting closer and closer to each other, and that on the evenings of December 20th and 21st, they will appear as a single object in the evening sky to the unaided eye. In telescopes at low magnification, Jupiter and Saturn will be visible in the same field of view at the same time. And that leads me to slide number 5. I've had some questions about what you can see through a telescope on those nights. So here's a zoomed-in image of Jupiter and Saturn and their moons. The image will vary from telescope to telescope, and how much you see will be determined by the magnification and the field of view of your telescope and eyepiece. But on December the 20th, you could be able to see at least all 4 Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, and the biggest moons of Saturn, Titan. And depending on your telescope, you might be able to see many more of those moons. The image you're seeing on the video version of Skynet could be flipped upside down or left or right, depending on what telescope and eyepiece combination you're using. I'll be using my 20 by 80 binoculars on those 2 nights, definitely, to see what I can find. Slide number 6, on November 25th, you can observe another conjunction of Mars and the moon. If you have a telescope, take a peek at Mars for a little while, and then gaze at the moon. Using a moon map, start trying to find a few of those prominent features on the moon. If you find memorize mountain chain and a crater and a Maria each month, then in a year you'll be familiar with yourself and an entire neighborhood, the moon. Slide number 7. Let's talk about meteors in November. There are 4 meteor showers to talk about in November. Let me talk about the first 2 meteor showers just tonight. The November Taurus peak on the night of November the 11th and 12th with about half a dozen meteors per hour. But one of the best meteor showers each year, the Leonids, will peak on the night of November 17th and 18th with between 10 to more than 400 meteors per hour. We have seen high unexpected meteor shower counts over the last 20 years or so at times with the Leonid meteor shower. So keep on watching this meteor shower. If you can, do it away from the city lights is a must. I always suggest camping at a Texas state park to watch meteors. For details about meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org or the International Meteor Organization, IMO.net. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Let me talk about the next Texas Astronomical Society Club meeting. Once again, we've already talked about that once, but it's going to be on Friday, November 20th at 7:30, a virtual one with Dr. Olenek and Arthur Sweeney from the University of Dallas. Now, let me see. Oh, yeah, and if you have any questions about that, you can visit their website, texasastro.org. Now, do any of you out there in Radioland have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or do you just have a general question about astronomy or the Ohio State football game that's going on? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha.
K5GLD.
Well, Sierra, Quebec Alpha, you're the winner of the first question. Go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, as a man of science and whatnot, two things. One is, you haven't said anything about the bright star that appeared in the sky over Wilmington, Delaware earlier this evening. Ha ha. And also, go blue.
I assume you're from Michigan, and we don't need to talk about the political stuff that's going on. I'm so sorry you're from Michigan. Oh, there's another person in there with a question. I'm sorry, I missed your call sign. Come now with your question.
Yes, K5GLD. I was wondering what that email was for the 4 p.m. WebEx tomorrow. I got space at, and then I missed it. K5GLD.
I'll tell you what, I'll let Bill come back with that. Bill, do you have the email that you can give to him about the club meeting for North Texas? Yeah, I've forgotten my memory. The North Texas chapter of the International Space Society, I believe that's it.
National Space Society. I'm sorry. Who is the station asking the question? Please ask it again. I'll be glad to answer you. This is N5BB.
K5GLD, I was wondering about the email address for the 4 p.m. WebEx with the SpaceX guy.
Very good. So, Randy, you should need to send me an email. You can use either of these two email addresses. space@byrom.net. That's spelled B-Y-R-O-M as in Mary, .net. Space@byrom.net. Or you can send it to me at my amateur radio address, N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. Tell me you want to be invited to the National Space Society, abbreviated NSS, meeting tomorrow, and I'll be more than happy to send you back all the particulars. This is N5BB, Net Control.
Thank you very much. Will do. K5GLD.
Very good. Turn it back to you, Chaz, in case you have any last comments or if there's any other questions for you.
Thank you, Bill. Just have a couple more. Okay, I just want to welcome the students from Brookhaven College that are listening, watching a Skynet tonight. Students, remember, you need to get the stargazing class credit, then you need to fill out the form within the next 48 hours. So as the moon waned during the first half of November, so do these words in this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world, and until next week, keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA, back to net control. Thank you, Bill.
Very good, Chaz. This is N5BB and Skynet. Any other check-ins, please come now. Okay, next it's time for space exploration in space history. And it's either Kelly or Brenda, and I can't remember whose turn. So whose ever turn it is for this section, please come now. This is N5BB. Skynet, go right ahead.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly. It's my turn. And good evening, everyone, to everyone that's on the net. So, just a few days ago, back on October the 29th, mission operators sent a series of commands to NASA's Voyager 2 spacecraft for the first time since mid-March. The only radio antenna that can command the 43-year-old spacecraft has been offline since March. The spacecraft has been flying solo, while the 230-foot wide radio antenna used to talk to it has been offline for repairs and upgrades. Voyager 2 returned a signal confirming it had received the call and executed the commands without issue. The call to Voyager 2 was a test of new hardware recently installed on Deep Space Station 43, the only dish in the world that can send commands to Voyager 2. Located in Canberra, Australia, it is part of NASA's Deep Space Network, or DSN, a collection of radio antennas around the world used primarily to communicate with spacecraft operating beyond the moon. Since the dish went offline, mission operators have been able to receive health updates and science data from Voyager 2, but they haven't been able to send commands to the far-flung probe, which has traveled billions of miles from Earth since its 1977 launch. Among the upgrades to DSS-43, as the dish is known, are two new radio transmitters. One of them, which is used to talk with Voyager 2, hasn't been replaced in over 47 years. Engineers have also upgraded heating and cooling equipment and other electronics needed to run the new transmitters. The successful call to Voyager 2 is just one indication that the dish will be back online in February of 2021. The Deep Space Network consists of radio antenna facilities spaced equally around the globe in Canberra, Goldstone, California, and Madrid, Spain. The positioning of the three facilities ensures that almost any spacecraft with a line of sight to Earth can communicate with at least one of the facilities at any time. Voyager 2 is the rare exception. In order to make a close flyby of Neptune's moon Triton in 1989, the probe flew over the planet's north pole. That trajectory deflected it southward relative to the plane of the planet, and it has been heading in that direction ever since. Now more than 11.6 billion miles from Earth, the spacecraft is so far south that it doesn't have a line of sight with radio antennas in the northern hemisphere. DSS-43 is the only dish in the southern hemisphere that has a transmitter powerful enough and that broadcasts the right frequency to send commands to the distant spacecraft. Voyager 2's faster-moving twin, Voyager 1, took a different path past Saturn and can communicate via antennas at the two DSN facilities in the northern hemisphere. The antennas must uplink commands to both Voyagers in a radio frequency range band called the S-band, and the antennas downlink data from the spacecraft in a range called X-band. While mission operators haven't been able to command Voyager 2 since DSS-43 went offline, the three 111-foot wide radio antennas at the Canberra facility can be used together to capture the signals that Voyager 2 sends to Earth. The probe is sending back science data from interstellar space, or the region outside our sun's heliosphere. DSS-43 began operating in 1972, 5 years before the launch of Voyager 2 and Voyager 1, and was only 210 feet wide at the time. It was expanded to 230 feet in 1987 and has received a variety of upgrades and repairs since then. But the engineers overseeing the current work say this is one of the most significant makeovers the dish has received and the longest it's been offline in over 30 years. The repairs will benefit other missions, including the Mars Perseverance rover, which will land on the Red Planet February the 18th, 2021. The network will also play a critical role in Moon to Mars exploration efforts, ensuring communication and navigation support for both the precursor and Mars missions and the crewed Artemis missions. And, of course, you can always go to the DSN Now website, which is really fabulous to look at. You can see which spacecraft are talking to NASA at what time and who's uploading to what. So it's kind of a neat app that you can get for your phone or your computer. Now on to space history this week, beginning with November the 1st, back in 1963, the Arecibo Observatory opened in Puerto Rico. For over 50 years, it was home to the world's biggest single-dish radio telescope until July 2016, when it was overtaken by China's 500-meter aperture spherical radio telescope, or FAST. Arecibo is perhaps best known to the general public for the role it has played in movies, having appeared in films such as James Bond's GoldenEye, 1995, and television programs such as The X-Files. Arecibo is also popular in science fiction literature because of its importance in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Arecibo has fictitiously picked up intelligent extraterrestrial signals in novels such as Carl Sagan's Contact in 1985 and Mary Doria Russell's The Sparrow in 1985. On August the 10th of this year, a platform support cable broke, causing damage to the telescope, including a 100-foot-long gash in the reflector dish. The facility is currently closed as damage assessments are being made. And, of course, the big anniversary this week was back on Monday, November the 2nd. Back in 2000, 20 years ago, Expedition 1 docked with the International Space Station, or the ISS. The crew of 3, Commander Bill Shepard and flight engineers Yuri Kazenko and Sergei Krikalev, rode aboard the Soyuz TM-31 to begin their stay on the ISS. And since that day 20 years ago, the space station has been continuously inhabited. Expedition 1 marked the beginning of the first permanent off-planet residence for humanity. The new inhabitants of the ISS were extremely busy in their time on the station. Over the course of their 136 days aboard, they were visited by 3 space shuttle missions, as well as 2 automated resupply crafts. The crew successfully installed a set of the station's solar arrays and the Destiny laboratory. The mission officially came to an end on March 18, 2001, when the crew boarded the Shuttle Discovery STS-102 and headed for home, but not before turning the station over to Expedition 2, Commander Yuri Yushisev and flight engineers Jim Voss and Susan Helms. Today, on day 7,310, Expedition 64, Commander Sergei Ryzhkov and flight engineers Sergei Kudzerverkov and Kate Rubins carry the baton forward. On November the 3rd, 1957, Sputnik 2 launched, the second satellite put into orbit by the Soviets in just under a month. But Sputnik 2 was quite different from its predecessor. Instead of launching a simple aluminum sphere, the USSR had created a more complex spacecraft this time, including a live passenger. The passenger was a dog named Laika, who became the first Earthling to enter Earth orbit. Laika, whose name means barker in Russian, proved that animals could survive in space and paved the way for human spaceflight. In many ways, Sputnik 2 was more alarming to Americans than Sputnik because it indicated both the Soviet ambition to put a human in orbit and proof of their ability to launch such a complex mission. Sadly, Laika's mission was a one-way trip. The USSR had not yet perfected re-entry technology. Also on November the 3rd, back in 1973, Mariner 10 took flight. It was the first spacecraft to visit Mercury, the first spacecraft to use a gravity assist. It used the gravity of Venus to reach Mercury, and with that record, was also the first spacecraft to visit 2 planets. Getting into orbit around Mercury is a huge challenge, and it was only achieved in 2011 by the Messenger probe. But some extremely clever space navigation allowed Mariner 10 to make 3 flybys of Mercury in the early 1970s. Using a gravity assist from Venus, Mariner 10 was placed into an orbit around the Sun that brought it within a flyby distance of Mercury in March and September of 1974, and then again in March of 1975. Such skillful navigation set the stage for exploration of the outer solar system with multiple gravity assists. On November the 5th, back in 1958, the Space Task Group, or STG, was authorized at Langley Research Center. The group managed Project Mercury, the first phase of NASA's crewed space program, and was responsible for planning for future human spaceflight projects. As Project Mercury advanced, in the summer of 1959, there were 400 people in the STG who were assigned to finish mission definition studies and begin the advanced engineering work. Ultimately, when NASA expanded its facilities, the STG was moved to what is now the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. And finally tonight, on November the 6th, back in 1966, Lunar Orbiter 2 was launched to photograph smooth areas of the lunar surface for selection and verification of safe landing sites for the Surveyor and Apollo missions. The mission successfully returned a total of 609 high-resolution and 208 medium-resolution frames, including a picture of the Copernicus crater. In total, the Lunar Orbiter program consisted of 5 lunar orbiters, which returned photography of 99% of the surface of the Moon, the near and far side. Mapping of the Moon by the lunar orbiters not only led to success in the Apollo program, but also provided a trove of data about the Moon. In 2007, a team of volunteers began digitizing lunar orbiter data using refurbished tape drives and modern image processing technology. The Lunar Orbiter Image Recovery Project data is available on the NASA Solar System Research Virtual Institute, or SSRVI, website. And that's all I've got this evening. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Bill.
Oh, very good, Kelly. Hey, there's a lot of space stuff that's been going on the last 50 or 60 years. Wow. Okay, do we have any late check-ins or comments? This is N5BB, Skynet. Nothing heard. Chad, is the football game over yet? If you'll come back, we'll let you do the Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. We're running kind of late. We've only got about 10 more minutes, so think you can slide through that? KF5JHA, N5BB, Skynet.
Actually, the game was over at halftime, but yes, Ohio State has won the game. So let's see now, Mr. Slide Changer, we're on slide number 11. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the total of 88 constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. In her honor, we've continued the tradition of a constellation per week. Miss Carolyn's constellation per week this week is Cepheus, the King. Now, I was going to go over the myth story about this, but you've heard it before. If not, we'll come back to it. We're running late tonight. Slide changer, go to slide number 12. Delta Cephei serves as the prototype of the class of stars known as the Cepheid variable stars, or simply Cepheus. Brighter the star, the longer the period of variability. Now, that simple relationship can tell us how far away a Cepheid variable is from the Earth. If we know its intrinsic value of brilliancy, its magnitude, then we can tell how far away it is from the Earth. Isn't that interesting? It's one of our, what we call standard candles as far as figuring out distances from the Earth. The brighter the star, the longer its period of variability. Delta Cepheid's variability in luminosity and spectral type result from pulsations of the star. The star's spectral type varies from a F5 to a G3 over a period of about 5.36634 days. A Cepheid variable is a pulsating variable star that is a definite relationship, again, between its period and its luminosity. It's important because we can calculate the actual luminosity once we have timed the pulsation period. Then we can compare the apparent luminosity seen from the Earth with its actual luminosity, and from this we can determine the distance of the star. Delta Cephei itself has been computed to have just over 1,000 light-year distance from us. It's also a double star and can be split easily at low power. Gamma Cephei. It's notable because it's going to be our North Star in about 2,000 years. So that's the only reason why I dropped that star into this presentation. Mu Cephei, another star, is called the Garnet Star. So named by Herschel and is noted for its red color. To honor the discoverer, and many of us refer to it as Herschel's Garnet Star. The star looks noticeably red or orange even in a finder scope. Through the main scope, it is a reddish-orange in color. This is for good reason, as Mu is perhaps the reddest star visible to the naked eye from the northern latitudes. It is the red supergiant star and also has an irregular variability, too. In these respects, it's similar to Betelgeuse, and it's also, which is also an irregular red giant superstar. However, it's much larger than Betelgeuse, and which Betelgeuse goes out to about the orbit of Mars if you put it in the center of our solar system. But Mu Cephei is about 22 AUs in diameter, and if it were plopped in the center of our solar system, it would extend out beyond the orbit of Saturn. Slide number 13, NGC 1396, the Elephant Trunk Nebula, a large emission nebula. It's involved with also an open cluster. You can actually see the open cluster easily, but the Elephant Trunk Nebula itself is spread out over a large part of the sky, so it's hard to find unless you have a large telescope. Slide number 14, NGC 188. It's a faint, open cluster of stars, but it's really close to Polaris. It's only 4 degrees from Polaris in the sky. It contains about 150 to 200 stars, and many of them on the faint side clear down to 18th magnitude, which are really faint. And it also spans about 1/4 of a degree of sky. That's about half the size of the diameter of the moon. Pretty big area for just a handful of stars. And slide number 15, the last object I'll talk about is NGC 40. It's called the Bowtie Nebula. A planetary nebula is so named because of its structures that resemble the shape of a bow tie. Through some sharp-eyed observers, like Stephen J. O'Meara, have been able to see some structure in the nebula. The actual bow tie shape does not appear visually. It's only brought about by time exposure photographs. There are more Astronomical League... Oh, this is slide number 16. There are more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Cepheus the King. I've just given you a few of them. The Astronomical League has over 60 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. If you observe about 10 of them each month in an observing program, then within a year you can earn an observing certificate and a pin. Slide number 17, and that is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, Cepheus the King. King, I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words that I've borrowed for this. I also used some information from the website constellation-guide.com. The next week, the constellation of the month will be Pegasus, a winged horse. Back to you, Bill. This is KF5JHA.
Very good, Chad. By the way, this week you have some hum on your signal. It's been there all along. If it was any stronger, it'd be objectionable. Right now, it's just very, very slightly annoying. I haven't heard it in previous weeks. I don't remember it, so you might check out if you've got noise in the power supply or something else. Okay, very good. Do we have any questions for Chaz or any late check-ins to Skynet? Please come now. This is N5BB. Okay, Tom, we're running out of time.
Normal state.
You got any hot space launches for the week in 5BB?
Negative, Bill. Just go ahead and go to heavens-above.com. You get the... Oh, never mind. That's 2 groups back. No, I'm done. KE5IC.
Okay, we are really late. Brenda, you want to throw in some astronomical discoveries, and we'll just run over time because we don't need to spend much time with the Afterglow movie anyway. It's pretty bad. WB5OZL. What's going on with the recent discoveries, Brenda, in 5BB?
W5FC.
This is WB5OZL. No, we're going to go to midnight, and if you'd like to make a bet on that, I'll be glad to take that. My article's very short, so we'll just run it out here.
Afterglow movie net.
Has the hidden matter in the universe been discovered? Astrophysicists consider that around 40% of the ordinary matter that makes up stars, planets, and galaxies remains undetected, concealed in the form of a hot gas in the complex cosmic web. Today, scientists at the Institut d'Astrophysique Spatiale may have detected for the first time this hidden matter through an innovative statistical analysis of 20-year-old data. Their findings are published on November 6, 2020 in Astronomy and Astrophysics. Galaxies are distributed throughout the universe in the form of a complex network of nodes connected by filaments, which are in turn separated by voids. This is known as the cosmic web. The filaments are thought to contain almost all of the ordinary, so-called baryonic, matter of the universe in the form of a diffuse, hot gas. However, the signal emitted by this diffuse gas is so weak that in reality 40% detected. These are the missing baryons hidden in the filamentary structure of the cosmic web that Nabila Aghanem, a researcher at the Institute, that same place, and Hideko Tanamura, postdoctoral researcher, get together with their colleagues are attempting to detect. In a new study funded by the ERC Biopic project, they present a statistical analysis that reveals for the first time the X-ray emission from the hot baryons in filaments. This detection is based on the stacked X-ray signal in the Rosette survey data from approximately 15,000 large-scale cosmic filaments identified in the SDSS Galaxy Survey. The team made use of the spatial correlation between the position of the filaments and associated X-ray emission to provide evidence of the presence of hot gas in the cosmic web, and for the first time measure its temperature. These findings confirm earlier analyses by the same research team based on indirect detection of hot gas in the cosmic web through its effect on the cosmic microwave background. This paves the way for more detailed studies using better better quality data to test the evolution of gas in the filamentary structure of the cosmic web. All right, this is from ScienceDaily.com. Back to net, WB50ZL.
Very good, Brenda. So, do we have any final comments or check-ins before we close the net? This is N5BB with Skynet. Okay, tonight we had 30 stations check in. Pretty good number of people. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We are always looking for net control stations for this and other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you'd like to try your hand or some other part of your body at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to, either contact the net control or send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy on Facebook and Twitter. Look for more details on w5fc.org. I'm closing a net right now. Good evening. And we will go to Afterglow, and I'll let Tom start the knockdown drag-out fight for who net control of Afterglow is. This is N5BB. Good evening.
Thank you, Bill. And this is Tom, KE5ICX, and let's get ready to tumble. 5 maidens of outer space from 1955 or 56. I don't know. Who the hell cares? In any case, that will be our movie. We'll be back in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Go powder your noses. 5 maidens from outer space. Back in 5. And whoever thinks they're net control tonight, we'll figure it out. So, anybody wants to step up to the plate, you can. 5 minutes. Here we go.
This is N5HYP testing.
N5HYP, NT5PM. Sounded fine, very slight hiss, but pretty good.
I can bot the power up on the transmitter.
I mean, if you want to, but I mean, no one's going to have trouble understanding you. NT5PM.
There we go, that put a couple more watts in the ether. This is N5HYP.
Very good, and this is NT5PM, dispatch from the final dog walk of the evening.
Do we have a net control?
You want me to do it again, Tom? N5EB.
No, we're going to let you take a break. You need to describe this film in detail, and you were net control, so we don't allow that. It's a Fizbin thing. Let me see. You want me to do it, don't you? Brenda, you can be net control tonight, and remember, traffic control is important. WV5OZL from KE5ICX. You are net control.
WV5OZL. This name here is Brenda. I almost forgot. I'll be net control, and just tell me where to send the check, Tom, okay? The bribe. Okay. Let's see, we need to find a synopsis here. Do you have it handy there, Tom?
Oh, I can probably read it real quick. Hold on. Let me find this. I've got hot links to the hot links, so please stand by. I'm still looking. Hold on. All right, I found it. Tonight's afterglow info. Everybody listen carefully. Here it is. A team of astronauts lands on a moon of Jupiter, a 13th moon, which, didn't exist until there's like, 1,000, but how many hundred? Who knows? To find it populated by beautiful young women looking for mates. An old man explains to the explorers the group's story, as well as the moon's dangers. And here, actual reviews from Fire Maidens of Outer Space from 1956. It's official, 1956. The monthly film bulletin stated, even the most dedicated connoisseurs of Artless are likely to find this British attempt at science fiction something of a strain on their patience. 4 out of 5 doctors recommend not watching this movie. The DVD Talk website stated 5 Maidens from Outer Space may be among the worst ever professionally produced science fiction films of all time. Hip hip tally ho. It's proof even British people can make questionable movies for the Empire. Fire Maidens of Outer Space from 1956 is what we got. Now, I can go into excruciating detail about lots of smoking and communications in real time back to the Empire, and how many different ways you can slide down a ladder. Back to net control. That would be you, Brenda. KG5I6.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, we're going to do check-ins, and want to do a little survey as we check in. What's your call sign, your name, call sign phonetically, your name, your location, whether or not you saw the movie. Now, according to Wikipedia, many critics consider this the worst movie ever made. Not just the worst science fiction movie, but the worst movie. So I want you to tell me if you agree with that, and if it's not the worst movie, what movie do you think is? And I'm going to start. Yes, I did see it. No, it's not the worst movie ever made. The Creeping Terror is the worst movie ever made. All right, check-ins. Please come now.
N5BB. Bill in Irving. Yes, I saw it. And I don't know. I don't think it's the worst movie. You got Plan 9 from Outer Space and some other really off-the-road Ed Wood movies. N5BB.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa Tom in Irving. The dance numbers were pretty good, but is the movie the worst? I just don't know, and I can't really decide which one would be worse. So, there we go.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. I saw the movie and suffered permanent brain damage. I don't know if this is the worst movie ever made. That's probably Glenn or Glenda. You're right about Ed Wood. But this is probably the worst movie I've ever watched for the Afterglow Net.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom Lewis. Yes, I saw the movie. Is it the worst? No, I agree with you, Brenda. Creeping Terror was the worst.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see the movie. I don't know if it's the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's the worst for the net.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey.
Yeah, I saw the film. I don't think it's the worst I've ever seen. I don't really have a running list of what is the worst. So, forgive me for the echo. I guess I'll go into details later. KG5BCW.
BT9V, Michael, Plano. I think I saw it, but I can't really remember much. It was a self-defense mechanism. My brain is like trying to say, no, you didn't see this. You don't have anything to say. So I can't really say if it was the worst movie I've ever seen. Or even the worst movie that we've seen here. I'm not sure. Y'all tell me. WT9V.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James, Oklahoma. I saw the movie. I don't believe it was the worst I've ever seen.
All right, N5BB, Bill, and N5HYP, Tom, NT5TM, Tony, KE5ICX. The next one I missed part of your call, it started with KB9. Could you come back with that, please?
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo. KB9 SOK.
And your name, please.
Sean from Fort Worth. Yes, I did see the movie.
Hey, KB9, Sierra Oscar Kilo. KG5 BZWJ, WT9V Michael, KG5 PMN James. All right, any more check-ins? Alrighty, let's get started. We'll start with Bill, N5BB. We start with the plot, then we'll move on to characterization, and lastly, special effects. So, Bill, what do you have to say about the plot?
Did you say plot? This is N5BB. Well, it's another stupid science fiction movie where the astronauts go to some other planet and there's people, there's trees, there's the air you can breathe, there's creatures there which certainly look like humans, and they speak English. They're dressed in clothes similar to our clothes. They have apparently makeup and they have hairstylists. And they've also been trained by our our dancing our choreographers in the Earth. So it was less than implausible. So the basic plot, worse than implausible. I mean, the temperature on a moon of Jupiter wouldn't be like that. And they wouldn't have earth trees and things. It was stupid. What else about the plot? I did not understand the bad creature with the lizard head or whatever he was. I missed that. Maybe the Mystery Science Theater 3,000 people talked over when they described where in the world he came from. I understood that they're from Atlantis, but I didn't understand whether the Earth Atlantis moved up into space or the people from the moon of Jupiter moved to the Earth. How did they get there? Those spacecraft visible? Did they teleport? Was it magic? Who knows? Most of the plot was suggestive dancing in short skirts by all these girls. That was pretty much it. This movie was a vehicle to show that on TV. That's all it was, as far as I could see. As far as other plot things, they had gravity on the spacecraft. They had no seat belts. They had really no seats. They were kind of sitting on some bench seats or something and flying the spacecraft around. The people in the launch center were all standing, while the people in the spacecraft were all sitting. What's up with that? Why are they all standing around? Could they not afford any seats in the launch center? Why are the stars flashing in space? The stars are flashing. Why? On the Earth, stars twinkle because of the atmosphere, but they don't flash like that, and they definitely don't do that in space. What are they doing flying a V-2 rocket? Did you notice the fins were painted with those different colors so they could picture it during their tests? Doesn't make much sense. Why did the control center person on the radio sometimes talk on the telephone, but other times the audio appears through the speaker? What the heck is going on there? Why did the radio operator on the spacecraft talk about hearing ultrasonic signals? He could hear them. They weren't ultrasonic. They sounded like telemetry. What was that? Again, there's gravity on the ship. One of the guys on the ship said their gravitational laws and magnetic poles are contrary to ours. He said that because they gave him coordinates he didn't understand. That was meaningless. Again, why did they have trees? Earth trees. Also, at one point, there was somebody in the distance flashing a light to them in Morse code. How in the world would they know the Morse code? Morse code wasn't invented back when Atlantis was supposedly there. And he decoded it so rapidly that they would have been sending it 100 words a minute. That's not possible to decode by your eyes. Why did all 5 of the astronauts leave the spacecraft by putting a ladder down? They didn't leave anybody in the spacecraft for an emergency. And somebody said, check the door, and they just kind of looked up to it. Nobody went up there to check the door. I don't know. The plot had holes. Well, no, there were holes, and the plot tried to exist, but it was all holes. No plot, all holes. In 5BB.
No plot, no hole sounds like a good advertising phrase. All right, next, N5HYP. Tom, go ahead.
Hey, this is N5HYP. Okay, Holly and Anna and I sat out in the backyard and watched it on the big screen. It was a pretty miserable plot. We all just kind of looked there and watched it, especially the opening segment where they just spent an inordinate amount of time with the two doctors, the American and the British, is kind of talking about what they have discovered. And you knew from there that it was going to be a slow movie, and it was. And, 1955, nobody knew about space travel. So any program that had anything to do with space travel, nobody had any reference points. So as a result, you could do anything you want. And especially when you don't have any budget, you really can do anything you want. That's kind of what they did. It just the acting was poor. However, like I said, the dance numbers were pretty good. If anybody else wants to explain what that's all about, I know, but I mean, just you might want to explain for people who are listening who don't. Back to Nat. This is N5H5E.
All right, next, NT5TM. Tony, go ahead.
Good evening, Brenda. Well, I watched the MST3K version of this, as I think N5BB did. I was excited to see the evil version of Crow T-Robot, Timmy, who they later tossed out into space. I was also glad, I think the high point of the plot of this movie was that it opened with a needlessly long and pointless establishing shot of a Lockheed L-1049 super constellation. This dolphin-shaped, triple-tailed aircraft played an important part in post-war air transportation and was one of the two aircraft involved in the famous 1956 Grand Canyon mid-air collision, a no-survivors air disaster that led to major reforms of our country's air traffic control system. That's really the most important thing in the entire plot, because yes, the rest of it seemed to consist of smoking, a rickety wooden ladder, some more smoking, the men following each other around, and these women in short skirts. And I'm so glad I didn't live in the past for many reasons, the lack of vaccines, the horrible dental care, but to think that, I could be a young man growing up in the 50s and that would be like all I saw of attractive women in the movies. That would be so depressing, because I would learn to associate attractive young women with driving myself out of my mind, with boredom. On the whole, that's, I guess, better than a Grand Canyon mid-air collision disaster, but really, reminding me to go read articles about the origins of our modern air traffic system was more exciting than the movie. NT5TM.
Thank you. KE5ICX. If anybody's watching, he's playing with his really good TWA Connie model, which I keep trying to make him give me, and he won't. He apparently likes it. But he's showing it to everybody who's watching the stream. So if you're not, go over there and look at it. It's a cool model. Okay. Tom, you're up. KE5ICX.
Thank you, Brenda. Yes, is a Lockheed L-1049G, and I'm showing it on screen. Yeah, you can see it. All right, here's the thing. Did this movie make any sense whatsoever? Negative. Best part of the whole movie was the constellation porn at the very beginning, and then I don't know, the short skirts kind of worked, I guess. Here, I see my airplane. Yes, and all right, super short skirts work, I guess. But in the end, what did this movie mean to everyone? And the answer is nothing. Could and can you understand the fact that, okay, wait a minute, wait. Here's the This spacecraft went to the 13th moon of Jupiter, and it only took them like 15 minutes to get there, which, I don't know, it probably isn't exactly right. I'd carry the one on that one. But when they land in the V2 rocket, that was great. Everybody loves the V2 rocket. It lands and it's got the thing from Operation Paperclip out in the mid, where the heck was it? Wherever they did that thing. So, you know, you're watching, and the guys, they're all in uniforms and they got the hat on thing. Yeah, they got a hat on. And they're landing on the 13th moon of Jupiter. Somebody can look it up and find out what that is. And then they, you know, in perfectly short sleeve weather, which is what you would expect from, you know, how far away Jupiter actually is. You know, it's nice, balmy weather with pine trees and wonderful things, all that. And then they find these women in short skirts. Wow, you know, great. The funny thing about it is, and maybe the craziest part about this is, nobody has a British accent. I don't think anybody has a British accent. Everybody's smoking. You know, every time they land, smoke. Fly down the ladder, smoke more. Or go look for the weird guy, the creature, jump over the fence. How does this society survive? All women, and all they do is dance. I mean, it's okay, but what do they do? How does this society survive? How do they make the oxygen? What? There's no animals, there's no food except for pine trees. Do they eat pine trees? I don't know. How do they keep looking so good over these minutes? I don't know. Except for the old guy, you know. I mean, it looked like the Playboy Mansion with the old guy. He dies. But they got, I don't know. Brenda, you shouldn't have picked this movie. Somehow or another, I don't get it. And then when they leave, nothing happens. They just leave. They go back to Earth, which is much like last week's movie, where we ran out of money, we can't finish the movie. Back to net control. This is your fault. KE5ICF.
I'm glad you asked, Tom. This is WB50ZL. I did a little research. In 1956, there were only 12 known moons of Jupiter. Now we have 89 that we've identified and named, sort of named, and some of them just have numerical names. But there was a long period of time where they didn't have any new discoveries of Jovian moons, and then they did a bunch of them. So the 13th moon right now is a little bitty guy that's only 3 kilometers in diameter, and its name is Pangaea. But it wasn't discovered until 2017. Now, there was one discovered in 74, between 56 and 74. But that was the 10th moon, or it's the 10th one now, called Leda. It's only 21 kilometers across. So the science in this is not that good. Who knew? All right, I'll turn this over. I'll talk some more later. KB9 Sierra Oscar Kilo. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, obviously the plot was pretty bad. Yeah, the whole thing, first of all, I'd have to think back in 1956. they surely had some basic concepts of what it would be like to go in a rocket. You think that they would realize that there would be weightlessness, and, they'd actually have to be strapped into real chairs and actually have some kind of provisions. The other thing was, it seemed like that little bitty rocket seemed to be awful spacious. So I don't know if it's maybe a TARDIS, but it's odd. It seems like it was very large and even had a bedroom. So obviously it was really large. And then as they were traveling the 3 weeks with their nuclear-powered engine, which what nuclear has to do with rocket fuel, I don't have any clue there, but I'm not a scientist. So that was strange. And then the whole shaving scene, and the whole traveling getting there was pretty ridiculous, along with the rest of the plot. Obviously, everybody's already commented on how slow this thing moved. The slow pans as they go looking across the wall at the clock, and just very strange. I'm kind of thinking maybe a 11 or 12-year-old maybe wrote this, dreaming about traveling to a planet and meeting girls. Maybe that's maybe the closest thing I can come to where they come up with this. And yes, the monster made no sense at all. Because they didn't say when they traveled from the Earth to go there that they brought the monster with them. So was the monster there before they got there? So that seemed a little bit odd as well, along with many other things. And I also found out, too, once they got there and got inside the fortress, as they called it, that they had all this technology of these doors, and they were able to travel there, but yet they were still using torches to light the place. So that seemed a little bit strange as well. But yeah, there's, and I won't restate the stuff that everybody's already said about the smoking and all that. Yeah, it's just pretty ridiculous. I don't have much else to say about this plot. Back to net control, KB9S, okay?
Okay, KG5BZWJ, go ahead.
This is KG5BZW. Okay, the plot, well, there wasn't much that made sense about it. I ended up kind of playing a game just to kind of, on my phone, just to keep my brain active, which made it, the movie a lot more tolerable. I thought there was more plot to it until I listened to everybody like, oh yeah, there's just, I know. I also made my own rules up about how, like gravity was made. Well, I mean, you saw that they were moving this lever back and forth constantly when they're avoiding these, meteors. Yeah, in the middle of space. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, besides that point, but anyway, so I figured they were constantly accelerating, and they had a path instead of what you would normally energy conservation type of traversal of orbits. They just gunned it all the way there, and then gunned it to the acceleration of all the speed that they took to get there, and that was their gravity. Yeah, the math probably won't work out at all for the 3-week journey, but whatever. Yeah, just let the repeater reset there. Yeah, they just had a bunch of stuff and didn't really explain it. Let's say I like the music, the Prince Igor music, but of course that brings up the point. Well, how the heck did they know about Prince Igor? And I can't think of the composer's name. He's one I should know because I tend to like Russian classical music composers, but, well, anyway. Man. Okay, as I'm laying down here, I'm realizing I probably should have had some notes so I can actually say anything, but I'm just kind of spinning my wheels here. It really felt like a bad sci-fi TV show that was really extended. I mean, like there's so many shots which should have taken about like 2 seconds and they extended it to about like 10, 15 seconds, and some shots that just, I don't know what the director was trying to establish with them. I'm sure it was to make up for a lack of actual plot. I'm going to leave it at that. KG5BCW, back to net.
All right, Michael, WT9V, go ahead.
I have nothing to say, actually, because as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to say about the plot, because as one of the characters in the movie last night said, plot? What plot? It wasn't a plot. And I tend to agree. Well, I have to agree. Also, I'm shocked that Tom has let his plane get as dusty as he has. He's going to clog the intakes on the motors and he's going to fall into the sky or something. Of course, maybe that's why it crashed into his face a while ago, because the cockpit windows were so dusty. I don't know. There's nothing much to say that hasn't already been said, so I'll just say it was pretty terrible. Especially for those of us who can't manage to suspend belief even a little bit. Anyway, WT9V, back to Ned.
All right, Michael, we're going to do a surprise inspection of your knickknacks and see how dusty they are. All right, KG5PMN, James, go ahead.
Kilo Go 5, Papa Mike November. I don't like the last operator. I don't know what else to say about the movie. The only thing I was kind of curious about was give me a little bit more right thrust. Reduce the thrust on the right to make me turn a little bit left. I was kind of wondering if that's what those two levers are for. You know, all the head full, and if he shoved them all the way back, would it suck everything back into the engine? I don't know. Like they said that the never get where the monster came from. Evidently, the monster was already up there when they got there, so he was trying to get that first girl, doing whatever he's going to do with her before they ran him off. And everything. One of the music kind of reminded me of Stranger in Paradise. Kind of a thing that sounded like was what they were playing all through it, but I don't know if that was what it was for sure. It kind of sounded a little fast for it, but I don't know. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
You're exactly right. It was Stranger in Paradise, written by Alexander Borodin, and he was a Russian composer from 2 centuries back or something, and a lot of the music was from his opera Prince Igor, and So they list the music by Trevor Duncan, who, if you go to his page, he doesn't list this as a credit. I have seen that before. It's like, don't mention that. But so the whole thing was entirely canned music. But that's okay. It's probably better than if somebody had tried to whip out some mediocre score. Yeah, Connie was the best part, no question. I love Connie's so much. And Tom is posting the words from Stranger in Paradise. Yeah, of course, Tony Bennett sang it. It was a pop song when I was a kid 100 years ago. So if you're older like me, you will remember this and probably even know the words. I'm not quite sure how it relates to this movie, but they stuck it in there. Probably weren't too worried about being sued. Anyway, Connie's. I love Connie's, and that was the best part of this movie. But, you know, you could just watch the beginning and be done with that. And, by the way, did you know that Orville Wright's last flight was me? It was in 069. Just a little trivia. I love airplanes. There was no discernible plot other than something you could probably say in about 3 sentences. These guys got in a spaceship, they went to Jupiter, they found Atlanteans that spoke English, and, you know, almost 2,000 years later, their society is down to 14 young ladies and an old guy, an old geezer. And you wonder what happened in between. Did generations come and go? Were no boys born? And these women are desperate for men. That spaceship was big enough that they should have just loaded them all onto it and brought it back to Earth, and then they could find husbands here on Earth. I thought the dancing was really stupid. I'm sorry. It's just not my thing. And they all wore the same outfit. What girl wants to do that? You want to be set apart from the others and have a better looking dress than they do, but I don't know. So, as I said, Jupiter has all these moons, and that's not one of them. We don't know where they are. Okay, I'm going to quit there. We're going to go... Tom's got a picture of the dancing girls, which, you know, it's odd. The portrait on the wall is this guy's grandmother. He's been there almost 2,000 years. I don't understand this. They really didn't pay much attention to what they were doing. That's all I can say. All right. Back to the top. We're going to talk about characterization. Bill, N5BP, go ahead.
Oh, I'm not going to have much to say. This is N5BP. You didn't know anything about the astronauts. I mean, I've forgotten their names. I guess they had some names. I've forgotten them. What was their background? What was their interests? What were they? What did they like? What did they dislike? Who knows? They all wanted the girls, yes. And but it's like they didn't even have a choice. I mean, the princess gets introduced to the guy directly because he was the lead guy. They didn't even meet each other. That's crazy. It was stupid. All those girls were his daughters. Where were their mothers? How many mothers did they have? Maybe somebody lived hundreds of years and birthed all those girls. It made no sense. So I didn't know anything about their characters. Did you know anything about the characters of all those girls? I didn't. The old guy that was their father, supposedly, All I knew about him was a crazy story that didn't seem reasonable. I don't know. I thought the characterization was thin. They didn't require it. They had dancing girls. Why worry about characterization? DD.
JN5HYP. Tom, go ahead.
Hey, this is N5HYP. There we go. Yeah, I agree with Bill. There really wasn't much character development at all. That wasn't kind of the point. You know, I mean, it amazed us. We were kind of just dumbfounded by the, worthlessness of some of the shots and some of the dialogue, and it again, like I said, it was 1955. Audiences had no clue what space travel was about, and so you just had to create a film that had something to do with space travel, and hope that people would flock to the theaters to see it. And then if you put some pretty girls in there, the trailer would have been interesting to see what they emphasized in the movie previews, because I'm sure there were some. By the way, Holly, I'm going to not come back for the third round, because I've got to get up early in the morning and do some stuff. But Holly wants to know why in all these early films there always was, I don't know how many of these we've seen where there's been a meteor shower that they've had to navigate their way through. That just seems to be a constant of these. The other interesting thing is, again, no concept of space travel and how long it takes to get there. People you just get launched and you're at Jupiter. Poof, like you're at warp. But they didn't have warp. They had rocket engines. So, I'm done. Good night, everybody. We'll catch you next week. Might be another fun one, I hope. This is N5HYP.
Okay, Tom, good night. NT5TM Tony, characterization.
Oh boy, well, there sure was a lot of smoking. I don't know if that's a character trait or not. I guess it is. I'd also like to point out that none of the male characters were very good radio communicators. They would not have done well in the National Traffic System. Their idea of a complete mission report was something like, arrived, commencing phase 2, click. No back and forth, no interesting thing like, this moon of Jupiter is full of vegetation and a strange character in an ugly costume. There's really kind of a long-running trend in science fiction, even very good science fiction, that people are bad at communicating. They have to not say anything very interesting for some reason. I don't know why that is. I heard a noise. No, I heard a high-pitched noise coming from the left, from the giant alien spacecraft that was shooting the purple ray guns. Say something intelligent. But that's really just a general complaint about science fiction, because in fact, I don't think I can think of a single other thing to say about this movie. So yeah, I apologize. Just like N5HYP, I'm going to switch to listen-only mode. And Tom, thank you very, very much for giving Erin a second look at that model. She really appreciated that and thought it was a blast. NT5TM.
We just should have backed it up and watched the Connie over and over. That would have been more interesting. KE5ICX, go ahead, Tom.
Gee, thanks, Brenda. Where are we at? Are we talking about, characterization? I like the poor monster that was outside, lurking in the bushes, and just wanted to be friendly, and then they killed him. he got stuck in the whatever it was. What? I don't know. You picked this movie. I was trying to figure out how the heck this all works out. How does this all work out in the end? What is the purpose of the characterization? Well, okay, here's what the characters did. The astronauts, and I put that in quotes, were busy wearing their hats, their commander hats, and their gigantic holsters. I don't know what that means, I guess, because this is a good movie of questionable purpose. But in the end, when you're watching this, you're trying to figure out what the heck are they accomplishing? What does it mean? And of course, I go back to the 2001 thing, which is that they're astronauts. They have a purpose. They're there to do something, and they're there because they're there. In the process, they figure out that this is a wonderful planet, not a planet, but a satellite. Let me reset. They are exploring, and they find women in short skirts. They got the big holsters, and there's dance numbers, there's seductive stuff going on, and then there's this creepy whatever the guy is with the deep, dark makeup who is watching over the fence thing that obviously he could have traversed. Maybe his wheelchair wouldn't allow him to do so until the last second. He gets inside, and everything's great. You know, they find him, they laser him down, and then they go back to Earth, which we don't get to see because, you know, too much money. I'm not sure what to say about individual characterization. Everybody smoked. Everybody sat inside the spacecraft. Oh, it's work. Never mind. Smoking and working. And standing in place. KE5I6.
Okay. KV9SOK. Sean.
Yeah, don't have a lot to say about the characterization either. You know, just wasn't none there. And I'd have to agree that the monster probably was the most entertaining one out of the bunch. At least he had some action sequences, I guess. Other than the, you know, it's kind of funny. Either I never did quite understand if he was bulletproof or those guys were just really bad shots. But yeah, and the other weird thing I thought was that, you know, supposedly this guy was, you know, their leader, their father, or whatever he was, and he gets killed, and they don't really seem to really be all upset about it for very long. They seem to get over it within a couple seconds. If you'd spent, I would think, hundreds or thousands of years with somebody, there'd be a little bit of something there, some grieving or something. Yeah, not on much to say about the characters. About the characters. Back to net control. KV9SOK.
Okay, KG5BZWJ. KG5BZWJ, are you there? Okay, we'll circle back to you. Next, WT9V. Give us something, Michael.
You're really asking a lot after a movie like this. And I use the term movie lightly. It was... Yeah, we all know what it was. I got nothing. Nothing that hasn't already been said. It was nothing in the way of characters, nothing in the way of plot. Maybe the effects were special. Maybe that's what we're waiting for. WT9B.
Okay, KG5PMN, James.
KG5PMN. Just maybe add a little bit to what Tom was saying. I wonder how much British input this had, because those big holsters kind of reminded me something like the British might have used in World War I or II, and as a full flap holster for the big revolvers that they seem to have carried. I couldn't exactly tell what they had in revolver-wise, but never really understood why what they were shooting was probably a fairly heavy caliber, but they couldn't even affect the monster at all. I couldn't understand that part of it, but character-wise, there wasn't too much into it for me for characters. Just kind of wondered how much of a British input this thing had. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
Do we have any additional check-ins? Please come now. Alrighty then, this is WB50ZL. These were really undistinguishable. I mean, you couldn't tell the girls apart hardly. Or the astronauts. Nobody had anything different about them. They're all just the same. Somebody talked about how the old guy died, their father, and nobody seemed to care. Well, how about the girls strapped down to the altar? They were going to sacrifice her, one of their sisters. Have they done this before? Did they know what a gruesome sight it is to watch somebody burned alive and to be one of their sisters? And who are they sacrificing to? They never said. So, is that what makes them fire maidens? They like to set a fire and throw a human in it? I don't know. Other than that, I didn't understand the fire maiden part. If you look at the poster from this movie, the monster is carrying a girl, and for some reason, why is it that when monsters pick girls up, their clothes start falling off? I don't get that. And, she should wear something with a heavy zipper or a lot of buttons so that she can keep her clothes on, but they never do. You guys are out of control. In case you're not aware, certain people are binging into the message so that you will hear binging through the radio. And this is almost like music. You guys need to stop it or I'm going to report you. So, yeah, I agree with Tom. What do these people do? I mean, who grows the food? Who makes the clothes? Where does electricity come from? Where does the fire come from? They never tell us this. And this monster, he's a one-of-a-kind monster. Where did he sneak up from Atlantis, or was he there already? A one-of-a-kind? And, it's like a Yeti or something. There's just only one. And what did he want? So, I think he may have been an afterthought. They got this and they reviewed it and they said, we got to do something a little more exciting so the astronauts can pull their guns out and use them. and we can be fearful of the poor girl that gives a girl a chance to scream. And so I think he may have been animated, obviously at cheap budget. His clothes had zippers, and he hid in the bushes mostly, so you didn't see the clothes but only saw his head, and I don't know what that was. Just, the whole thing just didn't make any sense. This whole movie didn't make any sense. I'm sorry, it just didn't. It's so full of holes. I did not pick this movie. Tom always does this to me. He always says I picked it, and I didn't. For all the years we've been doing Afterglow, I have picked exactly one movie, and that was The Creeping Terror, and the worst movie ever made. So, it's not my fault. All right, let's go back up to the top and talk special effects. Does anybody have anything to say about that? N5BB Bill, go ahead.
Are we talking about anything now?
Yeah, it says special effects are non-existent. Talk about anything you want that relates to this movie.
This is N5BB. The special effects were horrible. Horrible. The spacecraft did not look like any kind of vessel ever used by humans. Go look at it. It was a set that did not look like it. It looked like a ship. It looked like an airplane. It looked like anything else that's ever moved people from one place to another. No. They were sitting in some room, but it wasn't designed as a vehicle. It was designed just as a den or something. I don't know. I already mentioned the flash. Well, the rocket looked like a V2. It looked like a real rocket that could go to the moon of Jupiter. It wasn't a stage rocket, fancy multi-stage rocket. It was not. I mentioned the flashing stars, and then lack of seat belt or gravity on the spacecraft. Let's see, what else? When they they had very few shots of the rocket, and what they did was they showed it at different angles. Sometimes there were trees, and they overlaid it. It was really obviously overlaid on other things. And so they showed it going at different angles, overlaid on other things, and it was really, really, really cheesy. Looks like it was done by some junior high school students, if you ask me. Very poor attempt at animation, that special effects of the rocket doing something. The shots outside when they were in space weren't very realistic until they got to the planet, and that shot from the window was kind of okay. But did they show Jupiter? No. Why not? It would have been an amazing shot if it had this big, colorful Jupiter with the planet there, but no. We didn't get to see that. When you're on Jupiter, is the sun dim? No, it looks just like you're on the Earth. As somebody else mentioned, they had torches in this weird building. What was fueling the torches? What did these people eat? What did they drink? There's some wine or something at one point. But did you see anybody growing anything? What did they do with their life? Dance? What kept the whole thing running? They mentioned they had electricity. Why did they have electricity? They had torches in the room. I mean, oh, the special effects were just nothing. I've talked out. Inside BB. That's all I got, I think.
Okay, NT5TM Tony. Either special effects or anything.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I can't remember if it was Crow or Tom who pointed out that, yes, they showed the V2 taking off. They couldn't even pick one of the bumper flights where the V2 had a little second stage mounted on top. No, they just had to use a regular V2. And then when they wanted to show it landing, of course, because V2s don't land, they just ran the film backwards, which was really sort of odd-looking and amusing, but didn't look at all convincing as a rocket landing. So, terrible effects, what effects. And yeah, even in those days, we had a very good idea of what Jupiter looked like, in color, through telescopes, with big, sharp pictures. So they could have had some great matte paintings, but no. Could they afford a matte artist for this? Of course not. They couldn't even afford, I don't know, a plot. So why would they have hired an artist? Nothing else to say. NT5. Oh, the rickety wooden ladder, I guess, is the best special effect. The idea that that ladder could hold 5 men was amazing. That effect really fooled me. NT5TM.
Okay, KE5ICX Tom. Give us some wisdom.
Let's see, the special effects were wonderful. Everything about it was exciting. The V2 rockets, Operation Paperclip. Why do they do that German accent, especially during a British movie? Oh, I know. British people do really great jobs as German officers. That's why. That's what. Doing accents again. Let's see. Special effects. They put and slid things together to create a V2. Somehow or another, just trying to get from here to there. Now, I hate to tell this to you guys, but to be honest with you, the landing of the V2 with the film going backwards and then landing inside of the pine trees and all of that, I think they did that in, Twilight Zone. I'm sorry, Twilight Zone did it. And then the Martian Chronicles, I'm sorry, they did it in that to basically the same effect, inspired by this uninspiring movie. Which means it was inspired, which is ironic in an ironical sort of way. So let's see, what else going on? Oh, the spacecraft itself, the smoke heaven, for everybody. We're going back aboard. You can smoke if you got them, and everybody got them, and they smoked and smoked and smoked. But apparently the ventilation system worked really, really well because you never saw a haze. Now, the most important special effect in this movie was that stupid ladder. Not a stupid ladder, the ladder that let them get down onto the surface of the 13th moon. Everybody figured out how to slide down the ladder. It was really important to everybody, and they got really good at it. That is the best special effect of this entire movie. How you slide down this weird ladder thing on the V2 landing on the 13th moon of Jupiter. So, I don't know. kind of cool. Hey, this is a terrible movie. We're to midnight. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX. Don't hurt me.
Oh, never. KB9SOK. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, there definitely was much for special effects. I think most of us pretty well covered, but and then obviously the 3000 sites covered the magical levers in quite a bit of detail there. Apparently they were telepathic because they could tell what you're thinking, what you need the levers to do. Even though they actually did have a few scenes showing that there was a lot more knobs and switches, but they never used them other than one radio. So that was kind of interesting. And yeah, there just wasn't a whole lot of special effects. Maybe the glass doors in their rooms that were keeping them locked in that went up and down automatically, maybe that was the fanciest effect that they had next to the ladder, of course. Of course, that was much more better in the flashing light for Morse code. Yeah, not a whole lot to say there. Maybe I thought maybe the reason they showed so much smoking was maybe a tobacco company actually paid for the film. Maybe that's why they had so much smoking scenes. Anyway, back to net control. KB9SOK.
Yeah, a lot of companies do sponsor films, but they should have had a pack of Marlboros to show us and to make you think that if you smoke that, you too can be an astronaut. That's what I always think. All right, KG5BZWJ. I think Jay's left us. All right, WT9V. Get ready for a lot of good insight. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure I left this too, but don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. There was something I was going to say, and I forgot what it was now. It'll come to me, probably after it's too late. I'll just key up and I'll tell nobody, because nobody will be listening. Yeah, I don't know. It was something, and then I forgot it, and then I remembered it again, and then I forgot it again. I blame Tom. I'm not sure why I blame Tom, other than the fact that it's probably his fault. WT9V.
Well, Tom chose this movie, or he is sheltering the person that did that remains nameless. All right, KG5PMN. Go ahead, James.
KG5PMN. I don't know what to say on special effects that hasn't already been said also, again. There just wasn't a whole lot that I thought was special effects in the movie. Although, to something I forgot to mention on the characterization, they did go through a kind of a checklist, I think, right before they launched, and they did say something about each person's position on this, what each one of the astronauts, I guess you could call them, what their position was, and there was a little bit of mention of names in there, but there wasn't enough to be memorable. Send it back to the net, KG5PMN.
All right, anybody else want to check in? Okay, this is WV50ZL. Well, that was, in terms of special effects, that was a very realistic-looking fire. And the trees and everything on the moon were very realistic. I didn't understand. These guys didn't seem to have spacesuits. you know, or they just said, oh, there's oxygen out there. Yeah, and what else? Poisonous gas? Did they do any tests? And I would be quite concerned, you know, if I could go out in a spacesuit, I would be quite concerned about bacteria and viruses and all kinds of wee beasties. But I guess since those girls and the geezer were just fine, that might have been a clue that it would be okay. But they didn't know that when they went out the door. I guess no budget for spacesuits, but it sure would have made it a better movie. Of course, why in these old movies do astronauts always carry sidearms all the time? And you know, maybe that was the reason for having the creepy monster, so to give them the chance to use their guns. Otherwise, there's nothing to shoot at. I don't know. All right. I think we have beat this dead horse to death, if even deader. So if anybody has anything else to say, please come down with your call sign, and we'll go for one more round, optional. We won't put you on the spot. So go ahead and come down with your call sign.
November 5, India, Mike Sierra.
1790.
That first call was very scratchy. Could you come back with that again?
Is that better than N5 IMAX?
Okay, N5 IMS, JJ. Welcome to the net. Did you want to talk about this movie or just say hello?
Well, I had one comment that helps explain a lot of what people have been asking about, and I'm specifically talking about the MST3K version of the movie. At the very beginning of the show, in the intro for the MST3K thing, they talk about how people can eat and breathe and all those science facts. And they remind you, it's just a show. Sit down and relax. It's N5 IMS.
Oh, I thought it was a documentary. Well, that explains a lot. Okay, WT9V. You're going to talk now, huh?
Well, I just want to compliment JJ on noticing the fact that the movie maker, well, the MST3K people were talking directly to Bill at that point. I don't think he was paying attention, though. And my comment, the one that as I finally remembered I was going to make, is that why is it that you let Tom's airplanes get so dusty? You go over there on a regular basis, dust them, be a good friend. WT9V.
Wow. Should I wash his car too? Alright, it's okay to have dust, Tom. I have lots of dust in my house. It's disgusting. But, I'm not real big on dusting. Because it's like really boring. So, okay, I don't have any more comments about this historical documentary. Tom, do you have a better movie for us next week, or is it going to be even worse? This is WB50ZL. Go ahead, Tom.
Terrain, pull up. What I have a movie that actually I think is pretty darn good. And this took place in the future, but it's from the past. The Warriors from 1979 will be next week's movie. It's gangs on Earth. Gangs on Earth. The Warriors from 1979. If you would like to be a part of this thing, then all you have to do is send an email to Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray at yahoo.com. I'll send you the link, or you can go to the Facebook page, which is Afterglow Movie, 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, and sign up there. And you can watch the Warriors. By the way, one more thing. Let me reset. We watch these movies in real time at 8 o'clock on Friday nights. If you'd like to be a part of that, just sign up on the Facebook page, and we'll give you the links. Back to you, Natural Control. This is KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is net out of control, more like. This is WB5OZO. I'm going to close this net down. I'm going to stall. We got to go till midnight. It's 11:59. So, I didn't understand the point of those levers that they were using. I do know about the wings stay on, wings fall off buttons, or it's a toggle switch that appears in a famous Far Side cartoon. My son, who's a pilot, jokes about that a lot, and so they didn't show us that part. All right, we're closing down. It is 12 o'clock. This is WB5OZO. Good night. Thanks, everybody.
Elvis has left the building.
Perfect. Remember, only you can prevent forest Tucker fires.